What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. All right, let's get into New Orleans Saints. OTAs continue to go on, and this may be a bit of a faux pas, so I apologize, okay? But one of my other favorite Saints writers, along with NOF, I love NOF, has always been Jeff Duncan, wherever he's been at. And he had a headline that kind of proposed an interesting question that I would like to pose to you and get your opinion on. And it was, are the Saints right now? Because when you look, I think they have like the least amount of bets on them to win the Super Bowl. Nobody feels particularly high about them. They're over on the win totals at 7.5 in a 17-game season. Are the New Orleans Saints right now, in your opinion, after a couple weeks of OTAs here, getting his eyes on this team, are they overlooked or are they overwhelmed? Is this a team where there is some value, some juice to be had, or are they just as bad as the kind of hive mind is pointing them out to be?
I just kind of like rolled my eyes a little bit at myself because like this is the time of year. Like I buy in every year, like around now.
Yeah,
like,
I'm kind of buying in too, dude. I feel you. I feel it.
Like, and I know I'm gonna end up being wrong about it, but I mean, I feel like I have like a semi decent sound thought process here. Like if the offensive line is even a little bit worse, but you bring in better coaching, you have an offensive identity, you have a plan. Their single high for a single player high in rushing yards last year was 80. The 80 yards was the high, and I think they only had somebody go over 70, maybe two other times off the top of my head. You know, I feel like they could probably be a team that could get a 100-yard rusher. I feel like they're going to do a better job of like building off some of the stuff, and we saw it at the end of the season last year, just kind of what play action could do for a shaky offensive line. There's a lot of maybes on the defensive line. It doesn't feel like all of them can go wrong. Like if one of them is a yes, like you're better than you were last year at that spot, and that's like between Chase Young, Cam Jordan. I think Cam Jordan being just realistic. Like I think if he gets just healthy, like he'll be slightly better. I don't think there's like a turn back the clock. Like this is the foundational piece of your pass rush, but like I think he can be a little better than he was last year. Isaiah Foskey, if he can give you anything, if Peyton Turner can give you anything, if one of those four things is yes, you're going to be better on the defensive line than you were a year ago. I am concerned about wide receivers still. I don't think they did enough to address it, and I don't know if my perception is real or not. And I think minicamp's going to be good for it. I mean, I think at the beginning of this process, like A.T. Perry looked really good in the first practice, and then the next two kind of got quieter. And it's like, okay, well, why'd that happen? And is it because they're installing more and like he's kind of, it's kind of slowed him down a little bit, or did we just catch him on weird days? Like we saw 3 out of 9 practices. Like I think seeing all three of these kind of will help. I have no impression of Kendre Miller so far, which I think is kind of a bad thing at this point. And if I had to make a projection today, and obviously there's going to be a lot more new information between now and the opener, but if you just said you got to make a decision today based on what you've seen, I would have Jamal second and Kendre Miller third on the depth chart. But I mean, obviously so much can change, but I think it's been a little bit slow going for him so far. So I'm kind of down on those things, but I think overall, like, I think if they're the same, I think if they're worse on the offensive line, but you add in better offensive line coaching, taking some of the other factors, like it has to be kind of the same, right? Like it feels like it. I don't see how they're going to be significantly worse. I think they could win the same amount of games.
I cannot have them as worse. I cannot believe they're going to be worse.
I think they could win the same amount of games and you'd feel different about it. Like I think it could be the same outcome somewhere in that, that 500 range, and you can't be 500 anymore. So there's a variance one game each way. Like if you're somewhere in that range, like I think you could feel better about the outcome just based on how it looks. Like if you took last season and just flipped it and put it on its head and they started out how they did and then finished, and then it would be like, oh, well, Derek Carr got hurt and there were some of these like other things and, it slowed down and you lost Alvin Kamara for 3 games. And, I think it would just look different and the feel would have been different, but it started off like ass and then got okay at the end. But like, you kind of never got that taste out like from how the season started. And I think they just got to kind of figure out, how to start a little bit better. But I think it could be the same when you feel better. But I don't see them being that much worse. Like, I don't know. The way the schedule sets up, it could hit a rut quick and it goes off the rails. But
rough.
It's just kind of, I don't know. It feels way too negative to me, and I think it's just kind of somewhere in the middle. Like, and I think that's the conversation with everything with them. Like, Derek Carr right now is somewhere kind of in the middle. Dennis Allen is, as the Saints coach, has been somewhere kind of in the middle. Like, and being mediocre in the NFL is kind of the worst thing in the world because
Yeah.
there's just kind of, how do you get better if you're worse? There's this idea that you can get better by being worse. It's often not true, but being in the middle is the most frustrating thing in the world. So I get the feeling locally. But I don't think it's this cocktail of crap that, like, it kind of seems like everybody thinks it is right now. Like, I think it's mid. Like, I think it's just right in the middle.
And look, objectively, again, like, it's easy to hand wave away the last 6 weeks of offense from last season because of the frustration. But it's like, okay, if you could do that in that system, which we kind of all agree wasn't really setting yourself up for success, like, you should be able to have more in this system. And so, look, I get it, right? This is a Saints team where the main questions are arguably O-line, pass rush, and quarterback. The three most important, like, elements of football. But there are reasons to believe that you can maybe answer those questions positively. Here heading into minicamp, excuse me, how do we feel about, with a couple more weeks of looking at it, the kind of continued evolution? What are the players saying about Clint Kubiak? As we for these offseason conversations, Kubiak is the panacea. He is the reason that you're going to hitch your wagon to if you want to believe that this Saints team can overachieve.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's up. It's the vibe around it is significantly different than it was a year ago. And the one thing that I kind of like, it stands out, like, you just hear it, like, you hear coaching, you see people getting corrected, you hear people getting yelled at, and, like, that just kind of wasn't really happening last year. There's more enforcers on that side. I think Kubiak's just more vocal than Carmichael. Keith Williams, the wide receivers coach, is just he's kind of like that Curtis Johnson. Like, Curtis Johnson kind of was the guy that could, like, just check people, and you saw it. And I think that's important. I think you kind of need some of those people around, and I think they were missing that on that side of the ball. I think he can kind of be one of those guys, and he does it, like, in a with a smile, kind of, so it comes off like the right way. And look, he coached at Fresno when Derek Carr was there, and I think that's important too. Like, I think all that stuff adds in, but I think the staff. I think there's a lot of optimism. I think there's just a different feel. Like, you're out there and it just feels different. Last year, being in that locker room, it felt like incredibly heavy. Like, there was just, you felt the cloud. There was a sense of sorrow almost, like, and just every interaction of frustration. How does it get better? The fact that they came out of it at the end of the season is still shocking to me. 6 months removed, looking back at it, like, I don't know how they figured it out, but they did. But it's a different feel right now. And then, we'll see if Alvin's out there. I think he will be. I know for sure Marshawn Lattimore is going to be there. That's big. That kind of takes a little bit of that cloud away a little bit. So I just think the vibe around the team in general is just it's better. Like, it just feels different. It feels like, a fresh start. Like, and that's exactly what it is. And I think that was badly needed here. Yeah.
Yeah, after nearly 2 decades. So that's kind of answering the O-line question to some extent, and the quarterback. Exploring the pass rush. Look, I'm excited for Chase Young. If there's anything to update there injury-wise, feel free. But I think there's I think he has, like, a checkup soon, and, like, there's supposed to be an update. But yeah, it's still kind of up in the air. But look, I know, like, he's around. People say his attitude's good, like, all that stuff. So I mean, at least that aspect of it sounds good. So what? But another piece, I mean, is the Isaiah Foskey piece, and it's funny because Foskey and Penning are in similar boats to me in terms of guys who you gotta feel like there's, I don't know, maybe if the ceiling will ever be what maybe you once thought it was, but there's more there on the floor to be had. And y'all have a piece up right now talking to Isaiah Foskey and trying to kind of overcome the quote mental block that stymied him. What is Foskey doing to try to find the success that just completely eluded him in year one?
Him struggling last year was kind of one of the bigger surprises for me, because he has the pedigree, like Notre Dame production against real teams. That's
like, this wasn't like one of your Marcus Davenport or Peyton Turner's, like, RAS draft picks. Like, no, this was because we always complain, like, why not get the guy who just gets a ton of sacks? Like, well, he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and Penning is in the same boat, but like he's more understandable because he comes from like it's a small school, and you look back at it and you're like, yeah, like there were probably things there that got overlooked just due to the height, weight, speed factor of it. And Foskey felt like, yeah, he was raw, but like he had ways to win, and he was winning against real people. And I thought he was going to come in, and that was my thing when they picked him. Like, well, he'll come in and probably have production right away, and he'll get better over time. That mental block, I guess, is a real thing though, and it's something that he struggled with big time last year. And I think part of it for him is just figuring out how to struggle. When you're kind of a highly touted guy, you go to Notre Dame, like you probably haven't faced real adversity ever, and then trying to figure that out is something that you got to figure out. And I don't know. He says he has. We're gonna see. I mean, I would be shocked if he doesn't give them anything this year though. Like I would be shocked at a repeat of last season. And granted, there were injuries, but even when he was on the field, it just feels like I don't know. I'm not willing to believe that there's nothing there yet. I think he's still someone that can be good. Like I think he'll be part of it. And even if it's just like 4 or 5 sacks, like that would be a nice little come up for the team. They wouldn't have to manufacture those 4 or 5 sacks. Like if you can kind of get them within the flow. And then your third down package, if they decide to go 4 down, like if he's productive, that gives them another option, another body type. You put him on the edge, maybe you kick one of the bigger ends to the inside. Like it just opens things up a little bit. So, I think it's highly important. I think he's going to give him something. If Peyton Turner can be healthy, like I still believe there's something there. I don't think he's a complete talent bust. Like it's an availability bust. I think if he can find a way to stay healthy, he can give him a little something. I'm not betting on him though.
No,
Chase Young's just a big question, man.
Yeah, wait till they prove it. So how are you feeling about the Chase Young situation?
It's I don't know. I have no idea. That was like it was it was like remember when they signed Dez and it was like the high and the low, like straight back to back.
One of the greatest
like
Saints that never played.
Talent.
Oh, it was so good, dude. God.
Yeah, this is a guy like in his prime, but like it followed the same parallel. Like it was just like, oh man, they got Chase Young. Like this could work. This could be the answer. And then wait a minute, did they get Chase Young? Like is he gonna play? Like what's the deal? Like I think he's gonna play. I like the signing. I think Chase Young has more to lose than the Saints. Like if Chase Young doesn't give him anything, like it's a few bucks. Like big deal, he's gone, he moves on. Like I think Chase Young has to find a way to get healthy. He has to find a way to be consistent so that he can make the money that his talent dictates he should make. But it's the things with him has been like buying in consistency. I think the way this is set up, like he has to do both those things. He has so much to lose if he doesn't. So I think he's going to get healthy. I think he's going to get on the field. I think he's going to find a way. And I think he is going to be part of the temporary solution. Like, and then if he is, you re-sign him or you tag him. And, if you look at the 2-year average, if you tag him and you say, okay, got 2 seasons and you kind of do the divided by 2, like it'd be a worthwhile endeavor at that point. And it buys you another year to maybe draft the defensive end that you're going to need because Peyton Turner's come to the end. Cam Jordan's kind of at the end. You don't really have great answers with Foskey. Granderson's a good piece, but I don't think he's kind of what you're hang your hat on. But like maybe it ends up being Chase Young long term. But I think they're in a good situation there. I think he's gonna do something. He's gonna give him something. They didn't really pay him anything. I think he's gonna exceed the dollar value on his contract. It's just a matter of like by how much.
Yeah, so much to lose and also so much to gain for Chase Young. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.